forgot what movie we're going to talk about today.
Synthol, man, have I got a movie for you? Now, here's the thing. Normally, we focus on micro budget films and low budget horror. And this one comes outside of that. Normally, we're looking for those things that are $1 million or less. This film is actually sitting at about $3 million. So it's a little outside of what we normally do. The film is Better Watch Out, and it was directed by Chris Peckover. And I've got to tell you, I'm going to just lay it out there right now. I love this film. Loved everything about this film. It's now added to my must-watch Christmas list along with Krampus and Die Hard. So that being said, Synthol, what's your thoughts?
I did too, and I would also point out that there were a couple of well-known actors. Patrick Warburton and Virginia Madsen were also the parents in the movie. So
yes.
It's relatively low budget. While it's not in the range that we typically watch, interesting to see well-known actors there. I kind of look at this as a Home Alone Kevin, who's now pubescent and horny and an incel, and doesn't know how to relate to women. And this is his first attempt in a very unhealthy way. I liked it. And I like the fact that the ending was ambiguous too.
So here's the thing to me about this is you calling it a Home Alone, a prepubescent Home Alone is spot on. The idea that he's got a massive crush on his babysitter and he's going to make a play for her during the Christmas season here, right? Because he's like going, all right, I'm going to finally make the play for my dream girl, my babysitter. And then all hell breaks loose, basically, right? When she is unwilling to reciprocate those feelings the way he is, this really turns into a cat and mouse, evade, being killed by a teenager, a horny teenager, right? But what I loved about this, Synthol, was that the way it played out with his friend. So his best friend is over as well. And how he's convinced his best friend, to be part of this. I thought it was so well done. I just enjoyed all aspects of this movie. And what I really enjoyed in this movie is when he convinces her he doesn't convince, he gets her ex-boyfriend to come over. And it starts to spiral. I mean, it is so well done.
I like that aspect of it too. It escalates very, very quickly. And Home Alone Kevin here, or Luke, turns out to be a complete and total psychopath, much to his friend's surprise. And clearly we'd find out throughout the movie that everything that's happening in the movie was pre-planned.
Yes.
And nothing's an accident. And Home Alone Kevin is fully intended for all the gruesome things that happened to his love interest. The only accident I think that happened was what happened to his best friend.
Yes.
Outside of that, completely planned psychopathic activity. So I loved it.
So Synthol, I just have to throw in here for everybody who's watching, and one of the reasons that Synthol is actually talking about this as a Home Alone thing, they actually take a scene from Home Alone, the paint can scene, and swings it from the second floor. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it does to this person's head, but I'm sure everybody here can imagine what it does to their head. Because he's going, no. It would totally obliterate the person if you did it. It would never work the way that it's done in Home Alone. And you know what? It sure as shit didn't work the way that it was done in Home Alone.
I fully expected it to not end up like we know it was going to end up. They don't actually show you how gruesome it is with the paint can. This is a relatively low-budget movie. Now, this is a $3 million movie. I suspect a lot of that is production value, as well as the two well-known stars who were in it. But could this have been done for $1 million, under $1 million, like some of the movies we've seen, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt, Synthol. I don't think so. The parents, I don't think it would have mattered who the parents were, and I don't know if that's where the budget went, right? This is another one of those movies that takes place in a central location. It is a house, takes place inside the house, second floor of a house, takes place in the yard, right? Inside of a neighborhood. Do I think that they could have pulled this off for less? I absolutely do. And a lot of that is because it's not overly graphically intense, right? There's not a whole lot of that. It's what's happening behind the scenes. It's the dialogue, which By the way, Cynthia, I thought the dialogue was spot on.
How they go back and forth and between the female lead as well as Luke, the Home Alone Kevin. I thought they did a great job, and I agree that this was creative enough, had limited sets, didn't involve a lot of physical effects either. Could have been done with the lower budget movies. I think that was encouraging. Now, what elements didn't work for you out of this movie, Scott?
You know what, Cynthia? I really can't think of any elements that didn't work for me. The ending was great. Love the ending. I mean, love the ending. And I think that the way that they work their way up to that ending cleared up any where I'm like, well, how did she survive that? Right? It makes perfect sense how all of that happened. I would think the only area in this that I questioned, the ex-boyfriend was maybe the only thing in here that I kind of went, you know, it's not that the ex-boyfriend didn't do a great job. He did. The way that he suckered into coming over to the house, the whole poetry reading and everything else like that. I don't know. For me, there was something missing there.
Luke, the character, the kid, wanted to get rid of all of the elements that he thought were bad influences on his love interest's life. And they also, I think, established that a little bit by indicating that Luke thought she had a knack for selecting really bad
yes,
love interest. And so he clearly thought that he was going to come over. I think that part worked for me. A little bit of a side twist in the whole love triangle was the fact that her current boyfriend turned out to be a really decent guy. That
yes,
was a little bit different too, because I expected all of them to be just assholes.
Yes, I totally agree with you. I will say that I love this film a lot, and it is definitely on my watch list now for the holiday season, along with Krampus. I will tell you, I actually bought this film. So I went ahead and bought it just because I enjoyed it that much, and I'm adding it to Krampus. So I think this film is one of those films that during the holiday season, if you're a little bit like me, who likes a little darker holiday, I'm one of those guys. Die Hard is definitely the #1 best Christmas movie of all time. This fits right in there, and I enjoyed it immensely.
I did too. Now, what elements of this movie do you think we could take away for the movie we're working on?
I will tell you, Cynthia, to me, again, what I love about watching films like this, where it is filmed mostly within a single set, within a vast majority that's done in a room or two, makes me realize we can pull that off, right?
I agree. But like you noted, the dialogue was great. It really flowed.
Yes.
It was, none of it dragged. The pacing was really good. The story was interesting. Limited sets. We could absolutely do this as a small budget movie with some great performances.
I agree. One of the things that I'm starting to pick up from this stuff is dialogue and conversation are absolutely critical to making a movie work well or not, especially low budget. Because you're not focusing, it's not a Marvel film where you're spending billions of dollars, right, to get things, or multi-millions to do it. You're really relying on the characters, the connection with those characters, the dialogue. And so as you and I continue to work through our script and how we're going to do this, I'm becoming more and more convinced that our focus needs to be on the dialogue first and moving towards what do the scenes represent and what's the horror element building towards. Fantastic once again to talk with you and share our views on movies. I can't wait for the next time.
We'll see you next time.